Hey, guys, what is up? Happy to see you guys this Saturday. Happy October. We're in the last quarter of the year. 2025 has just flown by. I don't know if I'm the only one, but it seems like this year has just gone by super fast. It's about to be a Christmas and then a whole nother year coming up just around the corner. But as always, guys, you know I'm going to come and hang out with you every month to give you the information that you need to become a successful, profitable signing agent. Hopefully, the live stream videos that I've been doing have been helping you guys out, have been giving you the information and the insight that you need to become the signing agent that you want to be. And this month, as always, I've got an exciting topic for you. But this month, guys, we are going to talk about what to do when a signing goes wrong. I know we like to think, especially if you're new to being a signing agent or thinking about becoming a signing agent. I know a lot of times we think that everything is just going to go super smooth on every signing that we do, but that is not the case. You are going to run into some problems, some issues on your signings. And I found that it tends to be the same types of things over and over again. So in my 17 plus years of being a signing agent, I figured out the most effective ways of handling these repeat problems. And I'm going to give you guys the information on how I handle it so that when you face these issues, you will know what to do to get through them easily. But guys, as always, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn or any of those avenues, do me a favor, go ahead and hit that like button. That lets me know that you like these live streams, you like these types of content, so that I can continue to come out with this type of helpful content for you every single month. Then, if you for real enjoy the content, head on over to YouTube. Not only hit the like button, but also hit the subscribe button and hit the notification bell. That way you will be notified every time I go live, so you can come on, join me, and even get your questions answered on the live stream. As always, I appreciate all of you who are watching, whether you're watching live or on the replay. So whether you're watching live or whether you're going to be watching this in the future on the replay, please do me a favor. First, let me know what city and state you are from. I love to see folks joining from all over the country. So let me know what city and state you are watching from. Then let me know whether you are an aspiring signing agent. That means you haven't done any loan signings yet. You're just getting set up. You're just checking everything out. You are an aspiring signing agent. Or let me know if you are a new signing agent. You're a signing agent, but you've been doing this signing agent thing for a year or less. Or let me know if you are a veteran signing agent. That means that you have been doing this signing agent thing for more than a year. So again, let me know what city and state you are from, and then let me know if you are an aspiring signing agent, a new signing agent, or a veteran signing agent. And then I also want you guys to tell me your stories about when you had a loan signing go wrong. Go in the comments, go in the live stream chat. Let me know if you've had problems at a loan signing and what that problem was. I'm curious to see what you guys are running into because, again, I know the things that I see over and over again, and I want to see if those are the same things that you guys see over and over again as well. All right, who do we have watching? We've got Vanessa Cisneros. Good to see you. It is technically just now here in San Antonio afternoon. It is 12:04, but it might be morning where you are. So good morning, good afternoon, good to see you. We've got Muhammad watching from Virginia. Good to see you here today. Vanessa said that she is from Houston, Texas, and she is an aspiring signing agent. My Texas people always represent. I'm always excited to see you guys. We've got Lucy here from Miami, Florida. My Florida people also be in the house. Lucy, good to see you. Muhammad is an aspiring signing agent. Well, you are in the right place to learn what you need to know to be a successful signing agent. We've got folks watching from More as an aspiring signing agent. Happy to see you. Lucy said that she is a new signing agent. We've got April, one of my folks here in San Antonio. Good to see you guys. Keep on telling me what city and state you are from and whether you are an aspiring signing agent, a new signing agent, or a veteran signing agent. And then we got a little bit of time before I get into the meat of this. Don't forget, if you are a new or a veteran signing agent, let me know if you've had any problems at a loan signing. What were those problems? If you are an aspiring signing agent, let me know what problems you think you might run into in a loan signing. I'm curious to see what you guys think before I tell you the things that I run into and how I solve those problems. And yes, guys, there will be a question and answer session at the end of the live stream. So if you are watching live, you'll be able to get your question answered live. But if you are watching the replay, guys, I always try to go back, check the questions and the comments and answer those as well. So even if you're watching the replay, if you do have a question, feel free to put it down in the comments. And then for my folks who are watching live, do me a favor. A lot of times we'll have people who will jump on the live stream a little bit late and they always want to know, oh my gosh, will the replay be available? I missed the first part of what she was talking about. Do me a favor. If you see somebody ask that question, let them know, yes, the replay will be available immediately after the live stream. You will literally just be able to refresh the video and it will go back to the beginning so you can check out anything that you may have missed. Guys, you know I always have my freebies for you, and I always put those freebies in the description box of the YouTube video. But then I'll always have people say, where's the description box? I can't find the description box. Where's the description box? So again, first step, guys, is to come over to the YouTube video. If you're watching this on Facebook or if you are watching this on LinkedIn, come on over to YouTube. That's where the description box is. Then you're going to find the YouTube video. If you are watching this on your laptop or desktop computer, underneath the video, underneath the title of the video, you're actually going to see a little bit of the description box, and then you're going to see the word more. You will need to click on the word more to fully open up the description box. Now, if you're like most of us and you're watching this on your cell phone or your mobile device, again, you're going to find the video on YouTube, look underneath the video, underneath the title, you are going to see the word more. Click on the word more. It's going to open up the description box a little bit. Then guess what you got to do? You got to click the word more again. Then once you do that, whether you are on your computer or your mobile device, you are going to see the description box open up fully. In that description box, you will see links to download all of the freebie items that I have for you. So what are some of those freebies? I'm going to just tell you about a couple, but there's even more than these down in the description box. The first is my free new signing agent checklist. One of the things that aspiring signing agents and even new signing agents are always asking is, what are the exact steps that you got to follow to become a signing agent? Well, I've got a checklist for you guys that lists every single thing that you need to do, and you can check it off as you go down the line. So if that is information that you need, make sure that you download that free new signing agent checklist. The other thing that I have for you guys is my free AI guide for notaries. ChatGPT AI can be a very powerful tool as you are communicating with people, as you are marketing, doing all of that kind of stuff as a signing agent. But it takes a little bit of time and it takes a little bit of know-how to really kind of figure out how to use AI. So I've got this guide that is going to help you specifically in your notary and your signing agent business. Make sure you download it so you can learn to use AI in your business. I've got a couple of folks who have listed some things that they have seen, some problems that they've had. Let me see what we got here. Vanessa says that the problems that she runs into is incorrect info on documents. Yep. Missed blanks. Yep. And incomplete notarization. So I'm going to say incomplete notary certificates because it's our job to complete the notarization. So but I do see certificates that are incorrect. So, yep, those are problems that I run into as well. And then let's see what Renee says here. Renee is a signing agent in Charlotte, been a signing agent for a while, but got discouraged for a few years. I understand these last few years have been really, really wonky, but she's back. Had her notary commission for 5 years, and yesterday you had a signing that went well. I am glad to hear that. Hopefully this video will help you out so that if you run into problems in the future, you will know how to handle them. All right, so a lot of folks, like I said, especially new and aspiring signing agents, you may not know this, but loan signings do not always go smoothly and perfectly. I wish they did. I really wish they did, but that does not always happen. And again, if you're new to this industry, the fact that it doesn't always go perfectly and smoothly may kind of blow your mind. Like it may not have even been something that you thought to think about before you started investigating becoming a signing agent, because you would think that with these big mortgage transactions that all the I's would be dotted and all the T's would be crossed before they even send you out to meet with the signers. But that's not the case. There's sometimes delays and mistakes on documents, mistakes with the signers, delays on the documents, delays with the signers. Sometimes there's going to be delays and mistakes. So the first thing I want to tell you guys is that you just need to go ahead and be mentally prepared for when there is a problem or a delay. Guys, this is not an if. I promise you, if you are a signing agent, there is no signing agent that has never had a single problem pop up at one of their signings. This is not an if, this is a when, because it is going to happen. So you need to be mentally prepared so that it doesn't surprise you, so it doesn't shake you, so it doesn't shock you. You need to be mentally prepared for when there is a problem or a delay. Now, another thing I want to tell you guys is that loan signings are different from general notary work. You're not just getting documents notarized, or you're not just notarizing documents. There are tons of documents in the package that don't require notarization. And there's a bunch of requirements that the lenders and the title company have that have to take place at the signing of the documents. So the lenders and the title companies can pretty much ask for whatever they want from the signers, as long as it's not illegal, even if the signer doesn't like it. And this is one of the things that will pop up sometimes. Signers will get annoyed, angry, frustrated because the lenders and the title companies are requiring, XYZ 1, 2, 3. And they just get all up in arms. Why do they need it? Da, 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 da. And the bottom line is, guys, if you want the money, if what they're asking for is not illegal, if you want the money, you have to provide them with whatever it is that they are asking you for, or whatever it is they are asking you to do. And sometimes I just have some grumpy signers who get annoyed with that and don't want to do it. But unfortunately, the reality is that the signers, the buyers, the people who are refinancing, the sellers, none of them are in control of the process. Again, the lender and the title company are the ones who are in control. I know a lot of people, kind of feel like, I don't know, they feel like the star of the show because they're having to sign all these documents and they're getting all this money. But it's like, you're not the star. You're basically having to jump through hoops to get the money from the people who are, willing to lend it to you to buy this home or to buy this property. And the bottom line is, if the lender or the title company has certain requirements, and if the signer refuses to meet those requirements for whatever reason, if they refuse to sign something, the bottom line is they're not going to get their loan. Now, they can talk to their lender about it. They can ask them questions. What is this? Why is it needed? But at the end of the day, if they refuse to sign pretty much any of the documents in the package, what will happen is more than likely they simply will not get their loan. Lender and title company instructions are requirements. They're not requests. This isn't it'd be really nice if you would do this, but if you don't want to do it, don't worry about it. No. These are requirements. These are things that have to be done. The signer cannot decide to override any of these requirements. So if you ever get to a signing and the lender and the title company has given you instructions and the signer says that they don't want to follow the instructions, the signer does not have the power to say that they don't want to do it. If they don't do it, then basically they're not going to get their loan. And they need to talk to the lender or the title company as to why they don't want to do it. The other thing you got to keep in mind is that you, as the notary, cannot decide to override any of the requirements. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I will see a list of requirements and I may think that half of those requirements are stupid. But as the notary, as the signing agent, I don't have the power to just say, I'm not going to do that, or I'm not going to have the signer do it. You don't have that power. Again, you can contact the people that hired you to discuss it, but more than likely, if you're not willing to meet some or one or any of those requirements, they'll simply get rid of you and find somebody else to do it. So in loan signings, because again, this is signing agent basics. Yes, we're notaries. Yes, we can do general notary work. But in this channel, I specifically talk about loan signings, mortgage loan signings. Again, buyers, refinancing, and sellers. When you are doing signing agent work for those types of transactions, you're not just a notary. Signing agents, part of the reason why we get paid more to do this is because we are aware of the fact that lenders and title companies have different specific requirements that have to be met. And we're skilled in walking the signers through completing these requests properly. Guys, this is why, and I know I always say this is one of the many reasons why training is important. And that is to help you be aware of these requirements. Because again, if you are new to this industry, there may be some requirements that you can't even fathom, you don't even think about. In my mind, they're simple because I see them over and over and over again. But if you're brand new, it's not even something that would cross your mind. So training is important to help you become aware of these requirements and how to walk the signers through properly completing the requirements. So I've kind of explained, why things are a little more touchy with loan signings, why there's particular requirements, and it's basically because the lender and the title company say so. But you're going to run into problems, like I told you. So the first thing, before I go into detail about any of the problems, the first thing I want to tell you is that when you experience issues at the signing, when you experience issues at the closing, very first thing you need to do, first step, I don't care if you're a new signing agent and this is your first signing, or if you're a veteran signing agent and this is your 1 millionth signing. The very first step is to stay calm, okay? Especially if you knew. I know you're going to want to freak out because again, you're expecting everything to run smoothly. You're not expecting there to be a problem. So you're going to freak out a little bit when there is a problem. So the first thing you need to do is just take a deep breath and stay calm. All right. The next step, you need to take the lead, not the signers. Okay. Even if you are a new signing agent, if you have had training, you know more about this process than the signers do. And again, the things that signers want to do, the process that signers want to take is usually not what the lender and the title company want or need them to do. So if you let them take the lead, I promise you, it's going to turn this issue into an even bigger mess than what you already have. So you need to stay calm, and then you need to take the lead. The next thing you're going to need to do, and again, this kind of goes with stay calm, is you need to speak slowly and softly. Okay. The signers are going to be freaking out. 9 times out of 10, the signers are going to freak out whenever there is a problem. So if you start raising your voice, or if you start speaking quickly, you're going to agitate the signers because you look agitated. So again, even if you are freaked out, especially if they are freaking out, especially if they are getting loud, you need to lower the tone of your voice and speak slowly and calmly. It's one of those psychological things, guys, that will help to calm the signers down. If you appear to be calm, they are more likely to calm down, because I promise you, an agitated signer is not helpful in this process of figuring out what the problem is and how to fix it. You want them to remain calm. All right. And then, guys, don't rush to try to give a quick answer or solution. Okay. Don't rush. Think through your responses before you speak. Okay. And so, one of the things I'll usually do is when we run into an issue on a document, or if I run into a problem with one of the things I'm going to talk to you guys about in just a second, when I run into a problem, I just tell the signers, okay, hold on just a second. Let me think for a moment what the best way is for us to resolve this issue. Okay. And you want to stay calm. A fast answer is usually not the right answer, especially if you're new. Now, when you start running into the same problem over and over again, and you know what the answer to solving this problem is, you're going to be able to come to this answer quicker. But especially in the beginning, guys, your quick answer when you're new is probably not the right answer. So you're going to want to think through your responses before you speak. Now, all right, we're going to start talking about some of the common problems that you are going to run into at a loan signing. And again, guys, I've run into these problems with my very first signings, and I still run into these problems today. It's the same problems over and over. And I can't think of the last time I ran into a problem that's new. It is these same issues over and over and over again. The first problem is signer signatures, okay? And I always tell people, literally, the hardest part of being a signing agent is getting adults to sign their name properly. This drives me batty. It should be the easiest part of our job, but I promise you, it seems like the most difficult part of our job. Now, something you may not know as a new or an aspiring signing agent is that the lender often has a specific way that they want or need the signers to sign their name. So if you look on the screen now, I've got some screenshots of actual instructions from actual companies that I work with and what they say about the signer's signature. So the first one, it says buyers must sign exactly as their names are typed on the documents. I'm going to go more in depth with you about that in just a second. But the lender wants them to sign their name the way they have their name typed on the document. The next thing is have all parties sign consistently throughout the package. One of the things that will happen sometimes is that, people will sign the first document, they're thinking hard, they're signing it all nice and neat. And then by the time they get to about signature 10 or signature 15, they start to get sloppy and it doesn't look like those first signatures. The lenders are very particular. They want the signatures to look consistent throughout the package. They also don't want the signers to undersign their name. And I'm going to explain to you what undersigning is. They do not want the signers to sign or date documents that do not specifically ask for a signature or a date. One of the things that I did wrong, and one of the things that I see a lot of new signing agents do wrong, is there will be a signature line and it does not say to date it, but they will have the signers date it. And that's actually a mistake. You think that you're doing the right thing. You think you're being proactive. You think you're doing what you should do, but you're actually not. If it just says signature, then all they want on that document is a signature. They do not want a date. If it says signature and date, then you're going to have them sign it and date it. But that's something that you need to pay attention to. And then another one of the instructions, buyer's initials must match their names on the document. So what does that mean? And they gave an example here. So John B. Smith is how they have the signer's name on the documents. So then that means that they want the person to initial JBS. If they had their name as just John Smith on the documents, then they would just initial JS. So that's another thing that you need to pay attention to, and that we also have to draw the signer's attention to, because people have a particular way that they like to sign their name, and people have a particular way that they're used to doing their initials. And that may not be the same way that the lender is requiring them to do it on the document. So you got to pay attention, you got to focus, and you got to walk them through signing and initialing properly. So here's the big problem that I run into with a lot of signers. So again, the instructions normally say that the signer has to sign their name exactly as their name is typed on the documents. So if their name is typed on the document as John Bradley Smith, then they have to sign 3 words: John Bradley Smith, not John Smith. If the signature says John Bradley Smith and they sign John Smith, that's wrong. If they sign John B. Smith, that's wrong. If they sign J.B. Smith, that's wrong. The lender wants them to sign John Bradley Smith. And all of those versions that I have below that are wrong, those are called undersigning. They are signing their name in a way that is less than the way that the lender wants them to sign. Undersigning is not okay. And guys, again, this is where I run into the issue with a lot of signers. So again, on this example, they have the signer's full name. Very few people sign their full name. They usually do like one of the versions that you see below. So if the person goes to sign and they don't sign John Bradley Smith, I got to stop them and say, hey, you have to sign John Bradley Smith. And this is where the adults start fussing. I'm going to go into details of that in just a second. But one thing that I did also want to point out is when they sign, it doesn't have to be the neatest cursive in the world. If the person's signature is illegible or if it's a scribble, that is normally fine. I actually kind of prefer it when the person's signature is just a scribble, because then I don't have to really pay attention as much. Like I can't read what that scribble says. If you tell me that scribble says John Bradley Smith, cool, I'm with it. Like let's roll with it all day long. So just because it says that they have to sign their name the way it is typed on the documents, that does not mean that it has to be super neat cursive. It can be an illegible scribble. All right. So now, what do we do if the signer refuses? Because again, this is one of I run into this problem on probably half of the loan signings that I do. I will tell them, your lender wants you to sign your full name, John Bradley Smith, and they immediately start complaining. And the first thing that they'll say is, that's not my legal signature. That's not my legal signature. Well, first of all, and I don't necessarily say this to people because it comes off a little argumentative, but first of all, your legal signature is any mark that you make with your hand. You can make an X, and that can be considered your legal signature. So it's not that the lender is asking you to sign something that is not your legal signature. They're asking you to sign in a way that you're not used to signing. It's still legal. It's just not the way you like to sign your name. So when that happens, I sympathize with them. I tell them, I get it. It's annoying. I haven't signed my full name in forever. I totally get it. But here's the lender's instructions. Here's the instructions from your lender. Your lender is requiring you to sign your name exactly the way it is on the documents. And then I'll let them know, because again, I'll tell them, I'm like, hey, it's not me. I don't care how you sign your name. Your lender cares how you sign your name. If you don't sign the way that they are asking you to sign, a couple of things could happen. One, your lender can make you re-sign this whole package. And two, this can delay the funding of your loan. So if you are buying a home and you were expecting to be able to move into this house tomorrow, guess what? Your funding could be delayed until you re-sign all of these documents the way your lender wants. If you are refinancing your property, guess what? You getting your money from your lender could be delayed until you re-sign all of these documents the way your lender wants. So again, I get it. It's annoying, but these are the instructions and the way that your lender is requiring that you sign. Normally, when I explain it to them, they're still not happy, but they get it. And they understand that this is just something, one more hoop that they have to jump through to get their money, to get the money to buy the house or refinance or whatever. And then most people will go ahead and sign the way their name is listed on the documents. However, every now and again, I will have a signer who will just simply refuse to do it. So, what do? If the signer just simply refuses to sign their name the way it is printed on the documents? Well, at that point, you need to contact the people who hired you so that they can find out what the lender wants done. And here's the deal, guys. Every company is different. Sometimes the lender, their instructions may say that they want it signed that way, but they're actually okay with the buyer or the person refinancing signing it however they want to sign it. Some companies are perfectly fine with that. Other companies are not. Other companies are like, no, you got to sign it exactly the way it is on the documents. And what I do, again, I will let the company, the lender, their loan officer have that conversation with them. I tell people all the time, as a signing agent, I don't get paid enough to break kneecaps and ankles and try to force people to do something that they don't want to do. This is a requirement from your lender. So I let them talk to their lender if they still have that problem with that signature requirement. Now, that doesn't happen very often. Every now and again, I'll have a person that's like, nope, I just refuse. If I can't sign it the way I want to sign it, I'm just not going to do it. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, again, contact the company that hired you to find out what they are wanting you to do in that situation, and then also have the signer contact their lender. So that way they can hear directly from their lender what the lender is requiring and what the lender is okay with. Now, the next problem that will pop up, again, it's not an if, it's a when, it's going to pop up, is a problem with the signer's IDs. So we are notaries and we are signing agents. So for any document, guys, that we are notarizing, the ID that the signer provides to you absolutely, positively must meet your state notary requirements. It doesn't matter that you're doing a signing for a loan. It doesn't matter if the lender says that they are okay with whatever ID that the signer is providing. The ID must meet your state notary requirements for you to notarize any documents. And I've had that come up before where somebody tried to give me an ID that I could not accept for notarization. And the lender's like, well, we're cool with that ID. And I'm like, that's cute. That's nice. That's fabulous for all of the rest of the documents in the package. However, I can't notarize any of these documents because this ID does not meet my state's requirements for notarization. And that trumps what you guys are okay with for the signing of your documents. So first and foremost, ID must meet your state notary requirements. Then the ID also has to meet the lender's requirements. So, your state may be okay with you only getting one form of ID for the notarization. The lender may require two forms of ID for the signing of their package. So if there's a lender requirement for IDs, then the signer has to meet the lender's requirements as well. And then the name on the ID needs to match the name on the documents reasonably. Okay. So, like, again, using John Bradley Smith. If the name on the ID is John Bradley Smith and the name on the documents is John B. Smith, okay, I can reasonably believe that that is the same person. Okay. Now, if the name on the ID says, John Bradley Smith, but the name on the document says Joe Brad Smith, we got a problem because Joe, John, I don't know if that's the same person. Bradley and Brad, maybe, but to me, that's not a reasonable match. So you always need to make sure that the name on the ID reasonably matches the name on the documents. So then, what do you do when one of these problems pops up with an ID, or if you have a problem with the ID? Well, the first thing I do is try to avoid even having that problem at all. And the way that I do that is I try to verify the signer's ID before I even meet with them to sign the document. So when I reach out to confirm the appointment with the signers, whether I call them or text them or whatever, because I want to confirm the time and location that we're meeting, I will also ask them, hey, what ID are you going to provide at the signing so that I can make sure that you are you? And they'll say, oh, I'm going to give you my driver's license. Great. Is your driver's license unexpired? It's amazing the number of people who think that I can use, and again, things are different in every state, but it's amazing that how many people think an expired ID is okay. So I'm going to ask them, is your ID unexpired? They'll tell me yes or no. And then I'll ask them, how does your name read on your ID? So then I've got the pertinent information about their IDs before I even meet with them. So then when I get the documents, I can look at the name that they told me is on their ID. I can look at the documents to see ahead of time if it already reasonably matches. I also already know that their ID is not expired. I also already know that they're going to be providing me with an ID that is acceptable in my state. If I ask them, what ID are you going to be providing? And they tell me a library card, be like, oh no, there's no sense in me even meeting with you because a library card is not an acceptable form of ID. Now, if you get to the closing, if you get to the signing and you realize that the ID that the signer is trying to provide to you is not acceptable, the next step is just to ask the signers, do they have another form of ID? And I usually give them examples. And again, this has happened because I've had signers, their driver's license is expired. And I'm like, oh my gosh, we can't do the signing. There's a problem, blah, 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 blah. And it takes me 15 or 20 minutes before we even realize, or before I even ask them that, do you have another form of ID? So, let's say that their driver's license is expired. Well, I'll ask them, do you have a passport? And they'll go, oh yeah, I got a passport. Is your passport unexpired? Yes. What's the name on your passport? And then if all of that checks out, then I can just use their passport instead of their driver's license. Because again, it's not that it's a driver's license that's required. It's just an acceptable form of identification that's required. We're used to asking for a driver's license. That's one of the easiest ones. But there are other forms of IDs. So I have a couple up here on the screen. I've got a Texas driver's license. I've got a concealed handgun license here in Texas. That's issued by the state of Texas. I can use that as an acceptable form of ID. A passport, again, all of those different IDs are acceptable. It does not have to specifically be a driver's license. So if the ID that they're trying to give you is not acceptable, the next step is to ask them, you got another one? And if they do, then you're good. You can use that ID. And again, guys, if the ID that the signer is trying to provide to you does not meet your state notary requirements, you must refuse the notarization, even if the lender says they are okay with it, okay? Your lender does not trump your state notary law. You can get in trouble if you do a notarization without proper identification. So do not let mortgage companies or title companies talk you into doing a signing when the signer does not have proper ID. All right. So another problem that you're going to run into with loan signings is problems with last minute changes or errors. Again, I would love to say that every time you get documents, that everything on the documents are going to be perfect, but that is not the case. Sometimes they're going to have the signer's name spelled wrong. Sometimes they're going to have the addresses wrong. Sometimes they're going to have numbers wrong, down payment amounts, interest rates, all these different things are sometimes going to be wrong on the document. So if there's something wrong on the documents when you get to a signing, the first thing you need to do is reach out to the company that hired you to ask them how they want to handle that correction. Sometimes you're able to make corrections at the table. And by that, sometimes the lender and the title company are okay with you guys drawing a line through the mistake, writing the correction, and having the signer initial that correction. Sometimes that's okay. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes the things that one company is okay with you correcting at the table, another company is going to say, no, we want to redraw the documents. Sometimes you have to get a new set of documents when there is an error. And not all companies are okay with same corrections on the same types of problems. So don't assume that just because one company was okay with you making a correction at the table, that all companies are okay with you making a correction at the table. Or even if they are okay with you making corrections at the table, some companies will say they only want one person to initial that correction. Other companies will say they want both people to initial that correction. So again, whenever there is some sort of an error on the document where a correction needs to be made, don't ever, ever, ever on your own decide how to make that correction. You need to reach out to the company that hired you so that they can let you know how that specific error needs to be handled, whether it can be corrected at the table or not, how they want you to correct it at the table, or whether they want to get a new set of documents for that error. And again, guys, stay calm while you're doing this. The signer is going to freak out, or more than likely they're going to freak out, but stay calm. Let them know mistakes happen. But of course, their lender and their title company are going to work to get it corrected. It's going to be okay. You stay calm so the signers can stay calm. Now, another problem that you are going to run into, sometimes you are going to have problems with difficult signers. Sometimes the signer's going to be mad. Sometimes the signers are going to be upset. Sometimes the signers are going to be irritated. Sometimes the signers are going to be going through some things and they're going to catch an attitude with you, and it's not your fault. Okay. So you're just going to run into these difficult signers sometimes. And again, my first step in dealing with them is always going to be to stay calm and to speak softly. And I know that's hard sometimes when people are angry, especially when they're directing their anger towards you and it is not your fault. I know sometimes it's hard to stay calm. I know a lot of times we want to match energy, right? If they're catching an attitude with us, we want to catch an attitude back. Because who are you talking to? Who you talking to? I didn't do it. It's not my fault. Who are you talking to? But that never makes the problem better. Stay calm, speak softly. Again, it's kind of a mental thing. If somebody is yelling at you and you speak softly, it kind of makes them feel like an extra jerk for being so loud with you. Whereas if you get loud with them, then it becomes a contest and they're going to up their volume and you're going to up your volume. And next thing you know, you're both screaming at each other, and that never solves the problem. So stay calm, guys, and speak softly. I almost bring my volume down to a whisper because that means that they have to lower their volume to hear what I'm saying. Okay. The next thing you want to do is remind them that you're just the signing agent. I didn't draw up any of these documents. I didn't draw up any of these numbers, none of these figures. I didn't have anything to do with anything that is on these documents. Let them know. I understand if you are upset, but I'm the wrong person to be upset with. And some people don't understand that, right? A lot of times now, we do these transactions pretty much all online. So they're doing everything online with their loan officer via phone, via computer. A lot of times we are the only people that they actually see face to face anymore. And they kind of assume sometimes that we work for the lender or that we work for the title company. We don't. So I have to explain to them, whoa, look, I know you're upset, but I don't work for these people like that. I don't work for your mortgage company. I don't work for your title company. So while you are upset, you're upset with the wrong person. Okay. So if they are upset with something that has to do with the lender, if they're saying their interest rate is wrong or their payment is wrong or their down payment is wrong, whatever it is, have them reach out to the lender. The lender is the only person that can answer that question for them. And again, I've had signers wait. They had a question and I've had them wait till I arrive because they thought I worked with their lender and I was going to give them an answer face to face. And I'm like, whoa, no, I can't answer that. Let's call your loan officer. Get your loan officer on the phone. They are the only ones that can explain to you why there's an issue here, where the miscommunication is coming in from. If they are purchasing or selling a home and they're saying that something is wrong with the purchase or the sale, they need to get their real estate agent on the line. Again, we don't have anything to do with that. Let them know I don't have anything to do with that. But it sounds like you need to reach out to your real estate agent. They will be able to answer that question for you. Now, 9 times out of 10, when I speak softly and when I explain to people that, hey, as the signing agent, I don't have control over any of this stuff either, 9 times out of 10, people will settle down. However, every now and again, you will have the person that doesn't settle down. And here's the deal, guys. You do not have to tolerate disrespect from anyone. It hasn't happened often, but once or twice over these 17 years that I've been a signing agent, I've had someone be upset. I've had someone curse at me. I've had, someone, get agitated to the point where I'm like, I don't feel safe here anymore. You do not have to tolerate that. No amount of money that the signing company or the title company or the lender is paying you is worth you sitting there and taking that. And so whenever someone gets disrespectful or whenever someone does something or says something that makes me feel unsafe, I immediately pack up, pick up, and leave. You do not have to tolerate it, guys. And here's the deal. Some companies will try to tell you to stay there and tolerate it. You do not have to. You are an adult. If you're being disrespected or if you feel unsafe, pack up your stuff and get out of that situation. But again, guys, that does not happen often. And the thing that I have found the best way to handle difficult signers is just to stay calm and to speak softly. All right, guys. So look, those are the main problems that you are going to run into as a signing agent. Hopefully this has helped you guys out, especially if you are an aspiring signing agent, especially if you are a new signing agent, especially if you're getting back into becoming a signing agent. Hopefully I have kind of told you the major issues and problems that you're going to see, and I've given you a way to handle it. But again, guys, I want to point out, this is why training is so important. You don't know what you don't know, right? You need someone who has done this, who is doing this to let you know, hey, these are the kind of things that can happen. This is how you need to handle it when it does happen to make this transition into your signing agent business as smooth as possible for you. Because guys, I've seen people who were new signing agents get out of the business just because their first few signings had problems and they didn't know how to handle it. And so it was freaking them out. They didn't feel good about being a signing agent anymore simply because they didn't know how to handle the problems. Whereas if they had had a good mentor like me, if they had had a good trainer like me, I could have prepared them for those issues and walked them through how to handle those issues before they even got to the table. So guys, as always, training is more important than ever. If you are a new or an aspiring signing agent, or even if you're a veteran signing agent, but you don't feel like you've been doing this thing right, make sure that you check out my Signing Agent Advanced Training Program. I teach you everything you need to know to complete loan signings properly, from how to complete notary certificates, how to get documents signed properly. I give you a sample set of documents. I give you mock closing videos. One of the things that people always say is, I want to go to a signing. I want to see what happens at a signing. But guys, here's the thing. You can't. People's personal information is in these loan documents, and you can't just pop up and show up and be at someone's loan signing when there's things on the documents like their social security number, date of birth, income, past addresses, like everything you need to steal somebody's identity is in their loan documents. And it is extremely disrespectful for a signing agent to bring someone else to observe a loan signing. You are putting the signer's personal information at risk. At one of my own signings, because the title company wouldn't let me select my own signing agent, they selected the signing agent, and this lady shows up with her husband. And when I tell you, I got on the phone, I was fussing with the signing service. I reported her to the Texas Secretary of State because basically she was sharing my personal information with her husband, who was not an authorized, background screened, insured notary or signing agent. So guys, you cannot go observe a signing. The next best thing is to watch a mock closing video, which is what I've got in my training, so that you can see what happens in a signing and what I say at a signing. And of course, guys, you also with the training get me as a mentor that you can actually reach out to for assistance. So go down in the description box of the YouTube video, click on the link to check out my Signing Agent Advanced training program if training is something that you want and need. The other thing that's also down in the description box, guys, is a link to check out my free webinar, First Steps to Signing Agent Success. Again, for anybody who's a new or an aspiring signing agent, I encourage you to check out this video. It talks about my journey from being a new signing agent and how I was able to become successful, to kind of give you a roadmap of how you can do it as well. So make sure that you check that webinar out as well. So now, guys, we got about 5 or 10 minutes. We are in the question and answer portion of this live stream. If you are watching live, if you got any questions, go ahead, put them down in the chat. But even if you are watching this on the replay, make sure to put your questions down in the comments. Let's see here. Maria says, is there a device out there available to detect fake IDs like driver's license, passport, etc., to make sure the ID presented to me is not expired, but most importantly, legit? I don't specifically know of one. There may be. I don't know if it would be cost effective to actually get one, but what you can do is just learn what the things are on an actual ID that make it legit. Because again, as notaries, it's our job to reasonably examine the ID. It is not our job to, dissect it super duper ridiculously hard or buy expensive equipment or any of that good stuff. Most of us know what a driver's license feels like. I can take my Texas driver's license and look at all the security features that are on it. I can feel the different things that are raised and different things that are on there. So it's pretty easy for me to look at an ID that's not legit, and realize it's not legit just because I've handled IDs for so long. But again, do I specifically know of a device? Do I have or use a device? No, I just have learned what the markers are of a legit ID. Now, there are books out there that you can purchase, and I believe that they go through, the different security features of IDs in different states. Because again, I see my Texas ID all the time, but I'm not as familiar with a Florida ID or a New York ID or all that good stuff. So you can also definitely look into, books or manuals that also kind of tell you, hey, these are the things that you can look for to make sure an ID is legit. But again, as far as a machine or something like that, I do not know of one. You can certainly look to see if you can find one, but you do not need it to be a successful notary or to be a successful signing agent. Let's see what else we've got. Regina, do I know if the government shutdown has affected the number of signings? So we're at the point where, yes, it can. It's been going on long enough that it can affect the number of signings, because some loan programs are government programs, right? So there's like a USDA program, a down payment assistance program. Well, right now, because of the government shutdown, that government agency is not available to process those requests. So for anybody who has one of those loans that they were looking to close, they can't close right now, because there's no government agency open to process what needs to be processed for that loan to close. So yes, the government shutdown is affecting signings, unfortunately. And just like everything else, the longer the shutdown goes, the more it's going to affect not just loan signings, but other parts of our life. But yes, the government shutdown is affecting the number of signings, but hopefully what'll happen is the government will get back open and running again. And then all of those loans that were delayed during the shutdown will close after the shutdown. Let's see. We've got another question here. What if I'm an individual signing agent and I'm a little problem with signing? So I don't know what you're asking. What can be done on that time? Mohammed, I don't quite understand what you're asking. If you can rewrite your question a little bit differently, I will try to answer it, because I don't quite understand what you're asking there, my friend. All right, let's see. Can an all-purpose acknowledgement be added to any document that needs an acknowledgement but doesn't have one? So my first question to you is, how do you know that it needs an acknowledgement? As a notary, we don't decide what document needs to be notarized, okay? Two parties can tell us whether a document needs to be notarized: the creator of the document or the signer of the document. You can't just look at a document and say, oh, this document needs an acknowledgement. You don't know that. So, in a way, no. To kind of answer your question, you can't just add an acknowledgement to a document that you think needs an acknowledgement. Now, let's say you're doing a loan signing, and let's say the lender says, or you get instructions that say, hey, this particular document in this package needs an acknowledgement. We did not include one. Can you provide an acknowledgement that is appropriate for your state? You can absolutely do that. But you as the notary can never decide whether it's general notary work, whether it's loan signing work. You as the notary can never decide that a document needs an acknowledgement, even if the document is titled some sort of acknowledgement. That does not necessarily mean that they want it notarized. There are acknowledgement documents that are out there that do not require notarization. So just because you see the word acknowledgement on a document does not mean that it has to be notarized. You never decide yourself to add a notary certificate, whether it is a jurat or an acknowledgement. You as a notary never make the decision to add a notary certificate. Someone has to tell you that they want that document notarized, and that is generally the creator of the document or the signer of the document. Hopefully that makes sense. And then if a POA has blank lines on it, do we say anything or go ahead and notarize it? So you need to follow your state notary law. In general, you do not want to notarize a document that has any blank spaces, because anything can be written in those blank spaces after the fact if you notarize it and it has blank spaces. So what I personally do, if there's a document that has blank spaces in it, especially for general notary work, because this doesn't pop up as much in loan signing work, but in general notary work, if I'm notarizing a document and it has blank spaces, I tell the signers, I need you to put something there. You can put NA if it's not applicable, or you need to write something in there. But in general, I don't notarize documents that have blank lines on them. Let's see. Would it be beneficial to disclose upon arrival ahead of time things like signature format, stating that you're not an employee of the lender title company, stating that we will call it? So you got to play it by ear. I don't have a big, long speech that I give. Now, the biggest thing that I do tell them, before they sign anything is you've got to sign your name the way it's printed on the documents. And I have them sign my notary book first. So I will print their name the way it is on their documents in my notary book, and I will tell them, sign this way. And then I'll say, this is how you are going to need to sign the documents. According to your lender, this is what they want. Now, unless there's a reason for me to tell them I'm not an employee of the lender or the title company, I don't get into that. I don't like doing extra talking. You don't get bonus points for extra talking. You don't get bonus points for being there longer. I say things that need to be said. So if we're going through the signing and there's no issue, then there's really no reason for me to get into a big speech about me not being an employee of the lender or the title company. Again, as we're going through the documents, if there's no issues, then there's no reason for me to say, hey, if we run into issues, we will call, blah, blah, blah. I kind of wait and play it by ear, just because I don't like giving people too much information. Too much information gives them too many questions. I don't need that, right? We're going to stay focused. We're going to do the task. And if we run into an issue, then I will give the appropriate explanation at that point. If we run into an issue, okay, let's call your lender. If, they start acting like they think I'm an employee of the lender or the title company, that's when I explain I'm not an employee. That's how I do it. Now, this is your signing agent business. If you want a speech or a spiel at the beginning, if that makes you feel more comfortable, you are absolutely welcome to do that. I don't do that though. So everybody can do this how they like, as long as you're not doing anything illegal. Okay. So Mohammed, I am not working as a signing agent under any signing service. If any sort of problem arrives at the time of the signing, who should you contact? You contact who hired you. Somebody paid you. Somebody is going to pay you. So if you did not get hired by a signing service, then you either got hired by the lender or the title company or the signers. The signer doesn't happen that often, but usually either the lender or the title company. Most of the time it's the title company hired you. So if you got hired by the title company, call the title company. You always want to call the people that hired you and the people who are going to pay you, because you want to make sure you are following their instructions so that they don't have any reason to not pay you. So always contact the people that hired you, the people that are going to pay you if you run into any issues. Michelle wants to know, how do I go about finding a title company or attorney office for Texas Cash Out? This is my first time to be offered this type of signing. So you need to do that before you get offered a signing, because I'm going to tell you, it's not simple. If you don't already have a relationship with a title company or an attorney's office, it is just a matter of picking up the phone and calling and emailing and see who is willing to allow you use of their office. And I'm going to tell you, most attorney's office, most title companies are going to say no, because there's really not a whole lot of benefit to them to let you come in and sign. So if you are a Texas signing agent, you need to be trying to scope out a location. If you will want to do Texas home equity loans, you need to be working on scoping out this location ahead of time. You need to be working on building relationships with title companies and attorneys' offices ahead of time, because if you wait until you have an actual assignment, that's a bad time to find out that it's hard to get one of these companies to allow you to use their office. It's all about building relationships, and building relationships is one of the things that I teach in my signing agent advanced training program, because the same relationships that you're going to build to get people to send you business are the same relationships that you can use to get companies to allow you to use their offices. So that is my advice on that. You got some work to do. Let's see. You were having issues with a signer who was a power of attorney for a person who wasn't there. It's probably attorney in fact, not attorney of fact. I was supposed to have the signer sign all. So yes. So when there's a power of attorney signing, and I go through this in depth in my training, because this is something that is going to pop up, there is a sentence that person has to sign. When you are signing for someone else, you don't just sign their name. There is a whole bunch of wording. It is something like John Smith for Nancy Smith as attorney in fact. Some of the wording is short. Some of the wording is long. I've seen every mortgage company and every attorney's offices uses slightly different wording. But yes, whatever that sentence was that was under the signature line for that person, that sentence is what the person who is signing for the other person has to write. And again, I encourage you to take my signing agent advanced training program, because there's other little things that you have to do when you're doing a signing and one of the people is signing for someone else with a power of attorney. And again, these are one of these things where you don't know what you don't know. You haven't been through this before. I know the things that pop up with power of attorney signings. I know the things that you're going to miss as a new person, because you have no clue to even ask that question. But yes, with a power of attorney signing, they have to sign that whole sentence. And Michelle, what is a fair fee for the use of their office? The fair fee is whatever they charge. I've seen companies, request as little as $25. I've had companies request as much as $100. So again, this is not a simple, let me call one or two offices and get this figured out. The price is going to vary wildly depending on each office. I see it anywhere from $50 to $100 is kind of average. I wouldn't necessarily say fair, because again, this is their location, so they can charge whatever they want. That's fair, right? But I would say between 50 and 100 is average. And then obviously, if you are paying for the office out of pocket, you need to make sure that the company that is hiring you is increasing the fee that they're going to pay you to cover that difference. And I'm going to also say this is one of the reasons why I personally don't do a lot of Texas home equity loans anymore, if I have to pay for the office out of pocket, because you're basically giving the company that's hiring you a loan. So if you have to pay for the office when you go in, $50, but the signing service doesn't pay you for another 30, 60, 90 days, you're out that $50 for 30, 60, 90 days. I used to do them, but then I really got tired of me having to pay my money out of pocket for these loans and then hope that the signing service paid me on time or hope that the signing service paid me at all. I pretty much only do Texas home equity loans if the company that's hiring me finds and pays for the office. Now, I'm not telling you to not do it. I'm just telling you what I do because I've determined for myself what is and is not worth my time. Estella wants to know, do I have a mobile office? If so, what do I use for Wi-Fi? No. Again, this is one of these things where you are going to have to figure out what works for you. I tried the whole mobile office or, thing in the beginning, and I didn't like it because a couple of things were happening. Because I had a mobile office, companies really started thinking, oh, we can wait till the last minute to get stuff to her. And then they wait till the last minute to get you documents. And now you're scrambling, trying to get everything situated at the last minute because these other companies, the lender, the title company, the signing service, didn't do their job. They are basically expecting you to make up for the fact that they're not doing their job properly. And I didn't like it. It was too stressful, too much drama. And usually when they send you things at the last minute, there's extra problems. I've just learned last minute documents usually mean more problems. So I don't have a mobile office. I pretty much tell people this is the cutoff time that I have to have the documents by in order to be on time for this appointment. And again, I've got a video where I talk about how to handle late documents. And again, I also talk to my students more in depth about how I handle my scheduling and how I handle late documents. But I don't have a mobile office. I basically give a cutoff time. If you want me to be on time for this appointment, I have to have the documents by this time. And that really kind of weeded out the companies, the chronic late companies that would always give documents late. I don't like working for them. I don't want that drama. So I kind of weeded out those companies, and I end up working for companies that get me documents on time and the signings are less stressful, because guys, that's what you want. You don't want to work for people who are going to have you stressed out. None of you guys want to be self-employed to be stressed out, right? All of us want to be self-employed to make our lives easier. So don't be afraid to realize that not every company is going to be the right company for you. All righty, guys. I think that is the last of our questions. Again, if you are watching this on the replay or if I missed your question, you can always go down into the comments, leave it for me. I always do my best to go back and answer any questions that I missed. But I enjoyed hanging out with you guys this month. You guys know I'm going to be back next month. Should be the second Saturday of September. So make sure that you September, October, November. I'm trying to go back in time. Second Saturday, November. I will be back with another live stream for you guys to help you make your signing agent business the best that it can be. And as always, guys, thanks for hanging out with me. I hope that you have a productive and profitable day. Bye, guys.